commonly shortened to Romeo and Juliet, is a tragedy by William Shakespeare about the romance between two young Italian men from feuding families. It was one of Shakespeare's most popular plays during his lifetime, and along with Hamlet, one of his most frequently performed. The play, set in Verona, Italy, opens with a street fight between the servants of the Montague and Capulet houses, who, like the master they serve, are sworn enemies. Prince Aeschylus of Verona intervenes and declares that any further disturbance of the peace will be punished by death. Count Paris then speaks to Capulet about marrying his daughter Juliet, but Capulet asks Paris to wait 2 years and invites him to a ball given by the Capulet family. Lady Capulet and Juliet's nurse attempt to persuade Juliet to accept Paris's proposal. Meanwhile, Benvolio talks to his cousin Romeo, Montague's son, about Romeo's recent depression. Benvolio discovers that it stems from unrequited love for a girl named Rosalind, one of Capulet's nieces. Convinced by Benvolio and Mercutio, Romeo attends a ball at the Capulet house in hopes of meeting Rosalind. However, Romeo meets and falls in love with Juliet. Juliet's cousin, Tybalt, is angry that Romeo sneaked into the ball but is prevented from killing Romeo, as he does not want bloodshed in his house. After the ball, in what is now widely known as the balcony scene, Romeo sneaks into the Capulet orchard and hears Juliet at the window swearing her love for him despite her family's hatred of the Montagues. Romeo declares his love for her, and they agree to marry. With the help of Friar Lawrence, who hopes to reconcile the two families through the union of their children, they are secretly married the following day. Meanwhile, Tybalt, still angry that Romeo had snuck into the Capulet ball, challenges him to a duel. Romeo, now considering Tybalt a relative, refuses to duel. Mercutio is offended by Tybalt's insolence, as well as Romeo's vile submission, and accepts the duel in Romeo's place. Mercutio is mortally wounded when Romeo attempts to intervene, and before dying, curses both houses. Woe to you both! Grief-stricken and racked with guilt, Romeo confronts and kills Tybalt. Montague argues that Romeo has justly executed Tybalt for killing Mercutio. The prince, now bereft of a relative in the conflict between the two families, banishes Romeo from Verona, with the death penalty if he returns. Romeo secretly spends the night in Juliet's room, where they make love. Capulet, mistaking Juliet's grief, agrees to marry her to Count Paris and threatens to disown her when she refuses to become Paris's happy bride. When she begs to postpone the marriage, her mother rejects her. Juliet goes to Friar Lawrence for help, and he gives her a potion that will cause her to fall into a death-like coma or become paralyzed for 42 hours. Friar Lawrence promises to send a messenger, Friar John, to tell Romeo of the plan so that he can reunite with her when she wakes. The night before the wedding, she takes the potion, and when she is found dead, is buried in the family crypt. However, Friar John is unable to convey information about Juliet to Romeo because an outbreak of the plague makes travel impossible. Instead, Romeo learns of Juliet's apparent death from his servant, Balthazar. Heartbroken, Romeo buys poison from a pharmacist and goes to the Capulet crypt. He meets Paris, who has come to mourn Juliet. Believing Romeo to be a traitor, Paris confronts him, and in the ensuing fight, Romeo kills Paris. Still believing Juliet to be dead, he drinks the poison. Juliet then wakes up and, finding Romeo dead, stabs herself with her dagger and dies with him. The two feuding families and the prince meet at the tomb and find all three dead. Friar Lawrence recounts the story of the two starred lovers, fulfilling the curse Mercutio swore. The two families are reconciled after the deaths of their children and agree to end their violent feud. The play ends with the prince's eulogy for the lovers, for never was a tale more sorrowful. Meaning and legacy. Images, stage productions, films, 1968, 1996. Introduction. Romeo and Juliet is not only a love tragedy, but also an indictment of war, hatred, and prejudice. The work has become a global icon, adapted hundreds of times into films, musicals, operas. The story still resonates today. True love can overcome all barriers. but blind hatred will always lead to tragedy. 6. The end image. Balcony scene. Symbol of love. Introduction. For there has never been a story more sorrowful than that of Juliet and her lover Romeo. That tragedy will forever be immortalized with time.